Hi, everybody, and welcome back to AEG's podcast. We are with my dear friend Eric on our third AEG podcast. So exciting. Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for everything that you do, for the support that you've given me, not just over the past months, but the past years. You've been one of my longest friends in the industry and in the business, and I'm forever grateful for you.
Well, we are grateful as well, and I am too. And it's easy to get behind someone like you, and our audience will soon see this through the series of questions that I have for you, and of course, some of the comments that will come from that. Before we get started, though, I just want to let everybody know that you've got a book, and I want to make sure we're promoting it. So, Rethink Work. Oh, my blurry background is bad. There we go.
There we
We'll
go.
make sure that there is a link for everyone to purchase one. And everyone, Eric is a great speaker. He actually shared the stage recently at the Art of Leadership with Honorable previous Prime Minister Stephen Harper. So we were glad to be there, and he was lighting up the stage as always. So we're grateful to have you here again, Eric. I'd love to hear your perspective on what's happening everywhere, but we'll stay specific to Alberta because that's where we are right now, where it's close to home for me, and of course our AEG members are all Alberta based. So with that lens, some of the questions that I have will be specific to Alberta.
Sure.
But of course, probably has no boundary or border with your answers. So I'm sure it's applicable everywhere in the world. Answer for me this. We have a labor shortage everywhere. Where are the people going to come from? And how do we get them into the jobs that we need them for? Truckers, servers,
Yeah.
light admins, all of them. Where will we find them? How will we attract them? How do we keep them?
Catherine, it's a great question, and as you said, one that's very true in the Alberta landscape, but nationwide as well. I mean, nationally, we're seeing our unemployment rate at 5% right now. We haven't seen numbers that low since 1971, when our labor market was half the size that it is today. I mean, the headlines are really being dominated by tech layoffs, especially in the past couple of months. But the truth is, in December, when some of the more recent job numbers came out, we anticipated across the country that we would add maybe 5,000 to 10,000 jobs, but we blew that out of the water by 10 times. We added over 100,000 jobs in Canada. And as you said, you walk into various hotels, various restaurants, various event centers, you look at truckers, you look at even the whole hospitality industry, starving for talent. We're seeing poaching is happening all over the place. We're trying to get more people to move to Calgary, to Edmonton, to rural Alberta, more so than ever before. I know Calgary Economic Development, I know Edmonton, I know the major groups are trying really hard to sell the value proposition of their various cities and the province as a whole. And I think that there's sort of a few factors that we can look at when we're trying to attract talent. Because, what I often say to the people that I'm talking to is that, look, there might be a talent shortage nationally. There might be a talent shortage in Alberta. There might be a talent shortage in Medicine Hat or Lethbridge or Calgary or Edmonton. But there doesn't have to be a talent shortage at your company too. And for that to be true, a few things have to happen. Number one, we have to do something that I call really planting your flag. And what I mean by planting your flag is really differentiating yourself from the market, not just in what you do from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock or whatever your working hours might be, but talk about the life that people get to live as a result of working that job. I call it planting your flag because in the world that we live in, there are 195 sovereign nations, all represented by very unique flags. If you take a look at the flag of Japan versus the flag of the United Kingdom versus the flag of Australia or New Zealand, you can see these flags and you see right away, you understand their value differences, you understand their geographical differences, you understand some of those cultural differences. Well, I think companies really need to do the same thing. And I don't just mean in the work that they do, but I mean the work experience that they're providing too. Is it in the office or is it fully remote? Again, there's not one that's better than the other. There's just one that's right for you. Are you working in teams or are you working autonomously? Are you traveling for work or are you staying at home? Are you working on the weekends or are you just working from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Monday to Friday? Again, there's no right answer, but the more determined we are to define those working parameters and create a unique working experience for our people, the more effectively we'll be able to tell that story. The second thing that I think is really important is, not just around like ESG, but around philanthropy, around community involvement, around volunteerism, around even some more maybe even political standpoints. But a few companies have done a really good job at differentiating themselves in terms of things that they stand for. Nike, you'll remember, took a stand with Colin Kaepernick back in 2018 when he took a knee at the sidelines in the National Football League. Look, I'm not going to get political. I'm not saying whether I'm here or there for that, but Nike did that, and they saw a $6 billion injection to their bottom line. They also saw a lot of people burn their products and cut the swooshes off their socks and tape over their products, but they really started to say, look, this is what we stand for. You're either with us or not, and we can afford to and understand the value of differentiating ourselves in the market. Another company that did that is Gillette. They did their positive masculinity conversation. REI closed their stores on Black Friday because they were trying to really go against the sort of zeitgeist, against that corporate greed, against the rush of Black Friday. Patagonia, we've seen a lot of examples for Patagonia in terms of how they're supporting climate change and the environment. And look, again, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but I'm saying that if you're looking to differentiate your experience, understanding where you're volunteering, what's important to you, what social causes you're really involved in and invested in, you're going to find that, look, we're not trying to hire 100 or 1,000 people at a time. We're just trying to hire one. And the more we can differentiate that work experience, it's not trying to be everything to everyone, but being exactly who we need to be to the people that are going to thrive in our environment, the better off we'll be. The final thing that I'll say is that we really need to leverage our existing employers as the recruiters that they could possibly be. How often are we actually giving the people that already love and know the work that they do, that eat, sleep, and breathe our company 40 plus hours a week? How often are we giving them the stories that they can then go tell into the marketplace to attract like-minded, like-valued, and like-skilled people into the company as well? I'll give you one quick example. A software tech company for legal firms in Vancouver, a company called Clio, was having a really difficult time attracting women to be in their engineering team, specifically in software development. So the first thing they decided to do, they said, well, let's go talk to our women, all 6 of them on the 40-person team, to find out where they're spending their time outside of work. And it turned out that 4 of them were on a softball team together. So Clio said, well, why don't we just sponsor their softball team so that other people who are playing softball, who might be software developers or engineers, can understand that Clio, a tech company that's really hungry for female engineers, is supporting the things that their existing females are really interested in. And when they started to do that, they started to invest where their people were, gave them stories to tell. They found that they were able to triple the number of female employees on their engineering team and find that this talent issue actually wasn't that much of a problem when they gave their people a story to tell. So I guess in summary to that question, really differentiate the experience that people are having at work, understand your social non-starters are the things that you support. Where are you volunteering in the community? And don't forget to support the employees that you've already got that love their job, to give them another story to be able to attract people into that same workforce too.
I love it. Those are great examples and great takeaways for all of us. There's some of our member companies that are much smaller than the names that you've mentioned. And I think from what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's still ways to differentiate by knowing where the employees are that already know and love us. So what can we do to wrap our arms around them and what they're doing in community, and then maybe get out in community. Maybe it's not through money, maybe it's through time and talent.
Sure, of course.
There's many ways that we can get involved. Is that what you're saying?
Whether you're a multinational enterprise or a team of 5, chances are you're still going to put a job description out into the market, right? Or chances are you're still going to have some sort of referral come in from the existing people that you've got. What tools are you giving them to tell a more effective story? And on that job description, which unfortunately statistically is between 250 and 300 words, how can we make that a little bit more robust? I'll tell you how. Well, we just maybe paint it what a day in the life of looks like for those 5 people, how they're able to work together or maybe autonomously, whether it's transactional or whether it's very much rolling up the sleeves and getting our hands dirty with each other. There is no universal best culture. And truthfully, somebody who would work really well at a small company might not want one of those multinationals with 30,000 people. And so I wouldn't have that scarcity mindset, especially as a small business, to say, well, we're small, nobody knows about us, there's no way we'll be able to attract top talent. I actually think that could be your competitive advantage. And the more we're able to define what that experience is with the people that we love working with so much, the easier it'll be to get somebody on board to join us as well.
I like what you said. And I think let's remove it away from the employers or the ones that we would be employed by necessarily. Let's talk about, you mentioned Calgary Economic Development, Edmonton, and all the chambers around the province. They're all working really hard to attract people to their area, to stay, to live, to work, to build a life for themselves and their families. It sounds to me like what you've got there for a recipe or what you're proposing for an employer could potentially work for a city, for a town, for a province as well. Would you be able to comment on that?
I've been talking to cities across the country about this. I've been talking to economic development regions. I've been talking to tourism districts about this conversation exactly. Now, I actually grew up in small town Cranbrook, British Columbia, which is a little bit southwest of Banff, for those of you that don't know. And I found that the things that make Cranbrook so unique is that it's not Calgary, it's not Kelowna, and it's not Vancouver. Cranbrook is uniquely Cranbrook, and it's perfect for the 23,000 odd people that live there, and evidently not for the people that don't. The problem is we don't know what we don't know. And if different chambers of commerce, economic development groups, and tourism districts can really highlight the quality of life and the activities that their people get to live on a daily basis, maybe that, especially in a world where remote work arguably first, can be a real differentiator to attract talent into the region.
I love it. Well, I'm delighted to know that you're being consulted in some of these areas because it's certainly needed, that's for sure.
Well, I just, especially when we get into the rural districts of Alberta, even if up to High River, even in the Crow's Nest Pass, where people are saying, well, how can we draw people into the Crow's Nest Pass? We don't have the amenities that Calgary does. We don't have the amenities that Lethbridge does. So yeah, but you've got a heck of a lot of space. You're able to go skating on the pond right behind you. You're able to have 15 acres of land in ways that people in Lethbridge and Calgary simply can't. Are you telling that story? Are you talking about the quality of life that your kids get to have when they walk to school? Are you talking about the safety of your neighborhoods? Are you talking about the fact that you're best friends with your 3 neighbors that are all within a stone's throw away? Chances are we're not really talking about those things, and those could be the things that people who aren't aware of the opportunities of regions like that, or even Nanton or something like that, can really gravitate to.
Oh, Nanton, the candy store.
There we go. See, let's talk about the candy store. It's fantastic.
I think I know every candy store in the province, but well, this is excellent. What about when we're looking at, and we know this, but we know that there's been an influx of newcomers into our province. Thank goodness. We're going to have a culture clash because we're going to, and you and I've seen this in previous situations where we're coming out and maybe through a recession, and on the other side we're in hiring mode and we're hiring fast. And I know you and I both agree that hiring fast is not where you want to be, but sometimes you have to. So the fact is that that's going to happen. What about these great cultures that, let's say we've got a small, medium organization run by a family business. We've got that, and we know that we have to hire 10 or 15 newcomers that are coming from completely different cultures. How do we bring them in effectively to welcome them, but not to disrupt what we've already been building so hard to build and to keep strong?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question, and it doesn't necessarily have a very simple answer either. We're talking about different cultures, different backgrounds, different ways of life, different ways of being. Of course, all of this is true, and we want to make sure that we're respecting and acknowledging all of it from everyone's perspective. So even when hiring fast, learn slow, I would say that the fastest way to speed up human connection is actually to slow down. And in that instance, I would try to learn as much about the people around us as possible. I mean, even having something like a potluck, or maybe having someone from a different country or a different background, maybe bring in a meal, even just pay for it. It's not going to cost that much, $75, $100, whatever it might be, and get them to explain a little bit more about the background. Talk about the family recipe that's been passed down for 4 or 5 generations. Look, here's the truth. We're scared of things that we don't understand. Change is always uncomfortable. And even if it's a new movie that you haven't seen the trailer for, chances are you don't trust it. You're not going to spend $20 and 2 hours of your time to go watch it. Having said that, if you watch the trailer, talk to a couple people who've watched the movie, all of a sudden the risk and the scariness of investing that 2 hours and $20 to go watch a movie all of a sudden starts to go down.
True.
And so if we're integrating new people into the workforce, take the time to really slow down and understand who are they, where are they coming from, what are they excited about, what pain points are they going through, and chances are we're going to find a lot of common ground, a lot of opportunity to empathize and sympathize, and maybe, just maybe, even make a friend along the way.
Oh, what great advice. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. What about the fact that many are, and I was going to say, and I'm going to say it anyway, and I know it's being recorded, but many are using the excuse that ageism is real. And maybe in many cases it is. Maybe it is. But so I'm not taking it away. I'm just acknowledging that that's someone's experience and perception. Love to hear your comments on it. And then how, let's suggest it is very real for many out there. How can they get around it? How can they approach their potential employer or fit into a new culture if they've been hired in that way?
Well, I'm just curious. Are you talking ageism for older folks or younger folks? Because
Good point.
I think it agrees. I think it's very true on both sides of the
Oh,
spectrum. I mean, the number of times that I've been aged out of opportunities because I've been too young have been far more than I could ever count. So ageism, yes, is very real. Having said that, I think the same thing applies when we add new people to our team. Rarely do we talk about cross mentorship, cross coaching, the opportunity to really slow down and learn from each other in an opportunity where both groups could benefit. I think it's irresponsible for young people to discount the knowledge and experience, the expertise and wisdom of older people in the workforce. And I think it's irresponsible for older folks in the workforce to not understand the perspective and maybe the savviness when it comes to technology, communication, and new systems from a younger individual as well. And again, I think that there's an opportunity not to compete, but to collaborate, share that knowledge so that everyone can win. And again, maybe make a little bit of friendship along the way too.
right. I love it. Oh my gosh. I just love the way you think. Now, just staying on that for a moment, what advice do we give someone that is potentially on the too young or too old scale? How can we focus their attention on how to get that next job so that they're not focused on the negative of being turned away because of whatever age they might be?
Sometimes the fastest way to gain trust is to give it first. And sometimes the best way to give trust is simply to ask for help. As a young person who's looking to make their way into a career, into an opportunity, say, hey, Catherine, I'd love your opinion on this. I recognize that you've got some great years of experience. You've got an incredible resume with countless accolades behind you. I'm just entering the workforce now, and there are a couple of questions specifically to executive recruitment or management or leadership that I really know that you might be able to help me with based on X, Y, and Z. I want to pick your brain. It doesn't work like that. I want a specific answer to a very specific question that I only know that you would be the best person on the planet to help me with. On the flip side, maybe a person who's more senior in the workforce is looking for some sort of technological help, looking to understand that next trend or that next opportunity, maybe looking not just to convert a Word file to a PDF, but maybe trying to understand TikTok or Discord or various technological advancements that might be able to maybe even chat GPT and open source AI, things that are very popular in sort of that zeitgeist right now. To ask for help is not a sign of weakness. It's very much a sign of strength. And it's a good way to build trust along the way too.
Wow, great advice again. Oh my goodness. Is there anything in closing before I let you go? Or actually, before I ask you one final question about what's behind you, but do you have any questions or closing around the labor market or any ideas that you'd like to share?
Yeah, we're short on immigration, we're short on reproduction, and the workforce is aging out of the workforce faster than it ever has before, and it will continue for the next 10 years. So if we think people are leaving the workforce at a fast rate now, it will only accelerate for the next 10 years. So, even if there's a moderate to excessive downturn in the next 18 to 24 months, or maybe even 6 months, or maybe even next week, who knows? The talent shortage is very much here and it's very real. And there's a lot of fear around that. There are a lot of knee-jerk reactions. There's a lot of overreaction that I think that's happening as a result of that. What I would say is that, again, just because there's a talent shortage nationally or across the province doesn't mean there has to be a talent shortage in your business too. And chances are all of the answers as to what makes your workplace a great place to work is inside all of the employees that love the work that they do. So don't be afraid to ask them what they love about working at the company that you're offering them some great employment at, and then tell that story, usually with them in the spotlight too.
That last part is very key, isn't it? Well done.
Well, it's so easy. I
Excellent.
mean, you should make sure you share that credit. I think when we showcase and highlight our employees, they can share it to their 2,000 people in their network, and it's the best way to exponentially expand the reach of whatever posting or whatever excitement or milestone you've hit.
That's true. Awesome, Eric. Thank you. And two more questions. What
Sure.
is behind you? It looks like a whole bunch of name tags or something.
Yeah,
What is it?
I've been on about 450 stages around the world now, and those are some of the name tags from the various presentations that I've given. All around the future of work, talent attraction, retention, and just general culture and leadership.
Amazing. Okay, and another question then is, how can we reach you? What's your plans? And how can we reach you? What could you do for our AEG members? Are you available for one-on-one consulting? Do you
Of course.
prefer more of the group chats? What do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's the sky's the limit. I've pretty much done it all now. I've worked with hundreds of companies around the world, specifically around this talent attraction, retention, and leadership conversation. If you're looking to better understand how to retain that talent, how to craft a more effective story and really plant your flag, and if you're looking for that, maybe even that team motivator for your leaders to be able to better connect with their team, maybe they're remote, maybe they're hybrid, maybe we're just looking to boost morale after 3 years of sort of pounding the pavement, so to speak. I can certainly help with any of that. The talent shortage is here; it's not going anywhere, and unless we act now, we'll be falling behind. And so happy to pick up the conversation, through whatever link that you have on the podcast, or maybe just through my website or LinkedIn. I'm just at erictermuende.com.
Awesome, Eric. Thank you so much. I'm honored that you took some time with us today. I appreciate it, and I always love your advice for these important topics for all of
Awesome.
us, for our province, for our country, for the world.
Thanks for reaching out. I hope we can continue the conversation soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you. Everyone, that was my dear friend, Eric. Check out his book, hire him. We all need him, and let's get him on a stage wherever we possibly can. Thanks again for joining us on the third podcast for AEG. Thank you.